Let's move on. Brilliant article this weekend in the Mail on Sunday by their top columnist, Peter Hitchens, where he talks about the fact that Theresa May is clinging on limpet-like to number 10, despite most pundits predicting that she's going to be gone in a few months. What I liked about Peter's column, though, is he went back in the history of this and says really that the trouble she's having now and what the Tory party are suffering from, she was part and parcel of the creation of that when they basically tried to ape Tony Blair's Labour Party and forgot about being Conservatives. He'll explain it better than me. Here he is, Peter Hitchens. Good afternoon, Peter.
Good afternoon.
I thought the column was brilliant. I think you were spot on about this. Tell us about how you think the Conservative Party has morphed away from true conservatism and that's their fundamental problem.
Let's start with the understanding the Conservative Party has never been particularly conservative. It's always been an organisation for obtaining office to the sons of gentlemen. And occasionally it's suited it to be conservative. More than anything else, it's simply been the party of the status quo and has never really been very interested in politics. The problem is it's been in recent years faced with a Labour Party which has become a deeply ideological opponent of old-fashioned Christian patriotic Britain as we knew it. And this is the thing most people thought the Tory party was actually supposed to defend. When the moment came for the Tories to defend it after the election of the Blair government in 1997, which was, in my view, a Euro-communist government and the most radical government we had since Cromwell, their response was not to go into battle and fight for Christian patriotic England, but to become as like the Blairites as possible. And one key moment in that transformation was the speech which Mrs. May herself made to the Tory party conference, calling the Tory party the nasty party.
Yes.
And aiming by doing so to get the applause of the BBC and the Guardian and all the kinds of people who hate the Tory party and who hate the idea of conservatism, and to identify the Conservative Party with the new metrosexual and generally revolutionary forces which had pretty much taken over the culture of London, the universities, the civil service, the law, and everywhere else. And that's what they did. And she was a leading figure in that. And a couple of years after she made the Nasty Party speech, she made another speech pretty much telling any remaining social and moral and political conservatives in the party to clear off if they didn't like it. And that's her politics have never been particularly conservative. Her politics are those more or less of a borough councillor who sees which way the wind is blowing and follows it. And that's what she did. And now that wind, which blew her into the top echelons of the Conservative Party, is now blowing her and her friends flat, because the Conservative Party stands for nothing, and people have finally realised this after many years of refusing to accept it. I've been saying this for so long, without being able to get any response or much in the way of support from anybody, and it's extraordinary now how people are saying, "Oh, Peter Hitchens is right about the Tory Party." But I've been saying this since 2007. I've been saying it for 10 years. Over and over and over again. And the Tory party needed to be replaced if people really wanted a conservative political formation in this country, the Tory party was never going to be it. And it needed to be, first of all, destroyed and then replaced. And that opportunity came in 2010. And we didn't take it.
So what happens now then? Is she finished and are they finished? And then where do we go from here if we wanted a Conservative party or a Conservative government?
Since I failed to persuade people that what was needed in 2010 was a boycott of the Tory party, which would have changed British politics. And in 2010, we couldn't sack the government. Whoever was in the government would be pretty much the same. Gordon Brown or David Cameron would follow the same policies, but we could have sacked the opposition. When people failed to do that, and when I just couldn't get it across, I gave up politics. I just decided it was making me unhappy. Now all I do is laugh. I cannot be bothered with it anymore. As far as I'm concerned, there was a chance to do something. I used all the force at my command and the platform that I have to try and get people to pay any attention. Nobody would, so that's it. I'm done with it. Some other person may be able to come up with a scheme for it, but it's not me. And
so
as far as I'm concerned, I just laugh at the whole thing. I look at these foolish, shallow people with their coughing and through their speeches while their signs fall down behind them and pestilential nuisances rush up the platform and make them look even more foolish than they already are. But I just laugh. What else can one do? It's a national comedy.
But the problem is we're in the middle of this massive negotiation about Brexit.
Well, we
need
are. We're in
leadership.
the middle of, but nobody ever intended that to happen. I do not believe David Cameron intended to win
No.
the 2015 election. I believe he intended for there to be a second coalition in which he could oil out of his manifesto commitment to a referendum. They never intended to hold it, and we now have the ridiculous spectacle of a government trying to fulfill, with gritted teeth and a scowl on its face, a policy which most of its members do not support, and many of them actively oppose. It's the most ridiculous thing. And we are also in a permanent constitutional crisis, with Parliament actually deputed to follow a policy which very few of its members actually support. So it won't work. It is guaranteed to be a disaster. That's why I took no part in the referendum campaign and didn't vote in it. And the more I see of what's happened, the more I feel vindicated in having stayed out of it.
I think you're right. Good talking to you, Peter. Thank you very much indeed, Peter Hitchens.
You didn't frankly have the balls to put country before party.